everyone, welcome back to our coverage of the Magnus Carlsen saga. We're going to be seeing a chess game that was played by world number 8 Wesley So against world number 1 World Chess Champion Magnus Carlsen. So as it's really a short game, without further ado, let's check out the game as it's really a quick and brilliant one. So Wesley So opens the game at pawn to e4 and Magnus Carlsen goes for e5. Knight to f3, knight to c6 and here bishop to c4. So Wesley goes for the Giuoco Piano, bishop to c5, c3, knight to f6 and here d3. And so after d3 we have entered into the main line of the Giuoco Piano. It has all been seen before, nothing out of the ordinary. d6, knight b d2 and here black castles immediately. And after castles h3 and this h3 move is very useful. If you ever castle then black can always go for bishop to g4. He will pin this knight. So after castles h3 was played a6 and after a6 black wants to go b5 or even play bishop to a7. So it's really a useful move. Bishop to b3 and bishop to e6. And after bishop to e6, it seems like white can play bishop takes e6 and double up black's pawns. For example, if black goes f takes e6, white can go queen to b3. But this problem with this queen b3 move is that black will go queen e7 and at first glance, it seems that white can actually capture the pawn with queen takes b7. But in reality, if you play queen takes b7, then black will play knight to a5 and here white has to play queen takes a8. And after rook takes a8, black does have an extra queen. But this is not really a move that suited the tastes of Wesley So. After bishop to e6, he went for the best move, which is bishop to c2. And here, what happens if your opponent allows d5? Well, you push d5 and Magnus Carlsen immediately plays d5. And if you play e takes d5, then black will go bishop takes d5 and the bishop pair is fully operational. So after d5, Wesley So goes knight to g5 and this knight to g5 move can be characterized as an invention by Wesley So. He played this knight to g5 move and he defeated the Madras Tiger Vishy Anand. Vishy Anand continued with d takes e4 and Wesley So continued with knight takes e4 and Wesley So was able to win that game against Vishy. But after knight to g5, Magnus Carlsen was aware of that game. He plays bishop to c8 now. And he says, okay, I'm going to push h6 and after the knight goes to f3, then I'm going to play bishop to e6. So e takes d5, queen takes d5, castles and bishop to e5. So after bishop to f5, you can see that Magnus Carlsen is going for some rapid development. Knight d e4 and after knight d e4, Magnus plays an important decision. He plays bishop to e7. And it seems that black can just continue with rook d8. Well, the problem is white can either play knight takes f6 or even better, white can even play knight takes c5. And after queen takes c5, white will continue development with bishop to e3. So, after knight d e4, Magnus immediately plays bishop to e7, queen to f3, and this queen to f3 move is actually setting a little trap. For example, this queen is attacking the bishop. If you go bishop to g6, then white will go knight takes f6, he will give a check, g takes f6, and here white will play queen takes d5, and white just has an extra queen. So after queen to f3, you should defend both the bishop and get the queen out of the way. You can play bishop to e6, but then white can play knight takes e6. So Magnus immediately plays queen d7, and this is in fact the best move. After queen d7, it seems that Magnus Carlsen has lost the initiative and in fact he did. Wesley So can easily continue this game with knight takes f6. And after bishop takes f6, knight e4, bishop e7 and then queen g3 and the game continues on. Wesley So has a slight initiative. But after queen d7, Wesley So plays b4 and here Magnus Carlsen thought for some time and he set up a little but beautiful trap for Wesley. He goes rook a d8 and at first glance it seems like this rook a d8 move is completely innocuous. But after rook a d8, this rook and this queen battery is kind of pressuring the d3 pawn. So Wesley So went rook to d1 but now Magnus Carlsen executes his trap perfectly. He plays knight to d5 and here white is under a lot of pressure. After knight to d5, it seems like the c3 pawn is weak. If you go bishop to b2, then this was what Magnus had in his mind when he played rook a d8. Black will go f6, and believe it or not, my friends, this pawn is going to win this knight. For example, you try a move like g4, black will go bishop to g6, and here the knight cannot go anywhere. The f3 and the e4 squares are taken by the queen and the knight respectively. So after knight to d5, white tries d4. So you can see that even in hopeless positions, Wesley So is trying to create some sort of initiative or some trap against Magnus. Now, if the same idea of f6 does happen, then Wesley So had a winning idea in his mind, and I would like you all to find out the correct idea. After f6, the knight cannot move anywhere. That's perfectly true. But this bishop is kinda awkward on f5, and that was why it was very important for white to play d4. White will go knight to c5 here, and here black has to play bishop takes c2 and sacrifice the queen. For example, you try a move like bishop takes c5, then white will go bishop takes f5, and after queen e7, bishop takes h7, king to h8, white will go queen h5, and black king is getting busted there. Bishop g6 is threatened and queen h7 is threatened, and there's really nothing for black to do to save the king. On the other hand, after knight c5, if you try bishop takes c2 and after knight takes d7, bishop takes d1, white will just continue with queen takes d1. So, Magnus Carlsen saw this move. After d4, he tries bishop to g6. And once again, if Wesley tries knight c5, then black will go bishop takes c5. And this bishop is undefended on c2. After bishop takes g6, this is the idea. Black will go f takes g6. He will open up and attack to the queen. And after queen e4, bishop to e7, black has 3 pieces against white 2 pieces. Black is completely winning in this position. So after bishop to g6, d captures c5, knight captures c5, queen to g3, knight to c4. So you can see that Magnus Carlsen's knights are simply paralyzing both the bishops. After knight c4, white tries h4. So Wesley So wants to create some sort of initiative on the king side, but in reality, Magnus' initiative on the queen side is much better than Wesley So's initiative on the king side. So Magnus plays queen c6, and believe it or not, my friends, Magnus Carlsen is once again setting up a beautiful trap. Garry Kasparov himself said that after Magnus plays queen c6, Wesley So will surely play rook to d4, and as fate turned out, Wesley So indeed did play rook to d4. After rook to d4, Magnus has a winning sequence in his mind, and he found out the correct sequence. So I would like you all to find out the correct initiative and move for black. After rook to d4, the only piece that is defending this rook is this c3 pawn. You can't really play knight takes c3 because white will continue with queen takes c3. On the other hand, what you can do is actually knight takes b4. And after knight takes b4, after Wesley saw this move, he was very dejected. He knew that he was going to lose this game. For example, if white continues with c takes b4, black will play rook takes d4. But after knight takes d4, Wesley So just continues with rook takes d8. If you go rook takes d8, then white will go c takes b4. But Magnus Carlsen does not capture the rook. He says there is still time left, and he just plays knight takes c2. After knight takes c2, it seems that Magnus is completely losing the game. Wesley So plays rook takes f8 with check, because if you continue rook b1, then black will go rook takes d8. So after knight takes c2, white tries rook takes f8, bishop takes f8, and here is the problem, my friend. This knight is attacking the rook. So rook to b1 was indeed played, but now bishop takes c4, and this was why you should remove the c2 bishop. After bishop takes c4, Wesley tries knight takes c4, and here after queen takes e4, it was in this position that Magnus Carlsen's opponent Wesley So resigned the game. Why did he resign the game in just 25 moves? It seems like Magnus Carlsen's opponent, Wesley So, has an extra rook. But the problem is, Magnus Carlsen's two knights are simply more powerful than this rook. For example, if white tries a move like bishop to f4, he wants to continue developing, then here, Black has an amazing resource that will win the game eventually. After bishop to f4, black will go knight to d4, and it seems that white can just play c takes d4. But the problem is black will go queen takes b1. And if you try rook to a1, then black will go knight to e2 check, and after king h2, he will win the queen with knight takes g3. But there was actually a continuation for Wesley. Wesley could have actually tried the move f3, but then queen d3, and if you go rook takes b7, then queen d1 check, king to h2, and black will just go queen takes c1. So Wesley So did not have any interest in continuing a lost position. After queen takes e4, he resigned the game. Thank you for watching the video till the end, friends. I will be visiting you with more chess videos on opening chess traps, puzzles, in-game strategies very soon, so subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my future content. Thank you and have a great day, friends.